hello and welcome back to the Lap Jam podcast that still exists, despite the fact that we didn't do a build-up to Monza. And that was not because we were not excited about Monza. That's because, funnily enough, coordinating someone having their mother over internationally and someone being internationally makes life quite difficult in the run-up to a weekend. My name's Alex. The next voice you're going to hear is Dan. He's away in the Caribbean. Sorry we missed last week. Dan, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. You're right. There were some quite incredible time zones going on there, weren't there? Your mum had come over from Western Australia. I'm currently in Guyana, and you're currently sat in British summertime back in the UK. So trying to kind of piece some of that together was challenging at best. I say challenging at best. We discussed it for about 10 minutes and then decided that it wasn't going to work. So
one of the options was, do you want to get up at 3 a.m. and we'll do it at your 3 a.m. because I can do that before I go to play a game of cricket. Wasn't a great option. Was not a great option.
Wasn't the best. I mean, if you'd have turned around and said, do you want to do it at 1 a.m., then potentially I could have done it the second that I got back to the hotel from the game but no. The decision was we'd park it, we'd leave it. We had technical difficulties. We couldn't get the car out the back of the trailer and we missed qualifying. So, yeah.
We had a slow stop ourselves.
Yeah, we watched the Grand Prix and we've got some things to talk about.
Yes, don't we just? What we don't have to talk about, though, and we might as well start here and get it out of the way.
Yes.
Just because we weren't here on the pod last week does not mean that the Random World Championship took a week off. We didn't spin the wheel. We actually had a guest on the non-podcast. We had a guest engineer in ChatGPT picked our drivers for us randomly rather than spinning the wheel. So I can reveal that my lineup was the wonderfully strong Nico Hülkenberg and the former preferred driver of the Lap Down podcast, Franco Colapinto. And then Dan managed to get the all-time pairing of Fernando Alonso and Ollie Behrman. Dan, we scored exactly how many points?
0 points. I'll give you a brief summary of what happened. Well, you had Franco Colapinto, and he doesn't know how to drive a Formula One car anymore. Nico Hülkenberg didn't start the Grand Prix. Fernando Alonso's car fell apart, and Oliver Behrman got a 10-second penalty for being driven into by Carlos Sainz and didn't score any points. So nothing's changed, AB. We move on to another week. Neither of us got points, and I just hope to God something pops up soon because over the last 2 weekends, we've scored 3 points between us.
Yeah, what's interesting is that we can't even blame the wheel anymore.
No.
Because this is now the wheel and the AI both just picking garbage teams. So we could just be cursed ourselves rather than actually being the wheel. Oh,
bit
yeah.
Of fun.
Yeah.
Bit of fun. That's all we're here for.
We'll do it again next year and we'll be just points on points on points.
Yeah. All the lols.
Every one of the lols.
Every lol ever.
Should we, bearing in mind he was one of your drivers, should we briefly have a quick chat about Fernando? Because that didn't go great, and the front fell off, and it's not very common, I'd like to make that point.
No, I don't have a lot to say about Fernando Alonso, other than the fact that it felt quite kind of warm and fuzzy and nostalgic when over the radio, when the front of the car fell to pieces, it came across in the brilliantly Spanish accent that Fernando Alonso possesses, and it just says, "Unbelievable, mate." How many times have we heard that from Fernando Alonso over the years? It's felt like a long time since we last heard it. And the second I heard that first syllable of I went, "Ooh, here we go. We're coming back again." And it's just good. I don't know, the pronunciation of it, beautiful. It's Fernando Alonso, beautiful. And the fact that it's like Aston Martin and all the daddy's cash going on there, and he's just thrown his dollies out the pram. And I'm surprised, actually, with the performance that Aston Martin have put together over the last couple of years, that we haven't had more unbelievable mates from Fernando Alonso. But yeah.
No, this was the point I was going to make of he is under contract or in contract until the end of next year. Now, obviously, we shuffled the deck at the start of next year, and I imagine that's why he's chosen to go until the end of 26 because, if Adrian can cook and their jazzy new wind tunnel can cook, who knows what happens at the first year of a new regs, right? Like, if you get a big enough lead early on, even if everyone else catches up, you might be able to cling on to that. I'm not suggesting that we have a genuine Fernando Alonso WDC bid, although I guess he has as much opportunity as anyone else in the grid bar Cadillac because they ain't winning it. But do you think I mean, apart from winning it next year, and we're a long way. We're getting massively ahead of ourselves. It's just because we're talking about him, and we don't give Fernando too much airtime on the pod. Unless he wins it next year, and even if he wins it next year, can you see Fernando still on the grid in 27?
I'd probably put him in the same category as Lewis. I'd have thought they're both kind of just there to kind of, as you've said, open the box next year and go, ooh. Or to turn around and potentially even get half a dozen races into 2026 and go, I don't know, back's getting a bit creaky now, and I'm not sure. And then all of a sudden it's like, there's a seat at Le Mans that I could go and race in, and there's something else. I've got some Tommy Hilfiger jeans that I'm going to go and sell in New York. And you go off and do other things. So I'd be surprised by both of them if they were there in 27, unless either of the teams stumbled across like an absolute rocket ship of a Formula One car. Because it doesn't seem that age is a massive problem in Formula One now. I mean, like fitness and things like that, these guys are absolutely bulletproof, aren't they, with their fitness and their longevity. So, but I mean, the closer and closer you get to 50, surely the kind of things start slowing down a bit, don't they?
Yeah, you'd think so. They're just I mean, it's got to take it out of you, like the physical strains, but also just the constant travel and the time zone changes and having your schedule be so dictated. I mean, we see Fernando seems to get away without having to do a huge amount of media work. I don't see much of him. You know, Aston aren't putting out TikToks and stuff of them lip syncing and playing, silly phone games and stuff like that. He has it probably easier than some, but
is he married with kids?
Oh, it's a great question.
Because obviously Lewis isn't, and I wonder, and I don't know. I mean, you kind of speak to a few people in professional sport around the world doing different things, and obviously the big draw back to home for them is family, right?
Yeah.
Now, Lewis has a family, but doesn't have that kind of direct family that you would traditionally have. So I wonder whether that's kind of part of it as well. Whether that motivation to keep going around the world and keep doing the bits and pieces is slightly stronger because you don't have that tie back at home.
Yeah. Hey, I've got a very good source for whether Fernando Alonso has a family or is married. It's from the Times of India, which is where I go to for all of my relationship news with Spanish Formula One drivers.
Yeah.
Formula One legend Fernando Alonso's relationship history inside his love life. This is from the Times of India Sports Desk.
I just need to know if he's got kids. By the way, folks, before we get into this, we have got the McLaren Lando versus Max lap 1, turn 1 stuff to talk about, and also the whole pit stop and team orders type thing. So bear with us. But we're
getting the important stuff done first. No, he's not.
No, I didn't think he did. He did.
That's the current status. He was married for a while. He was married to Raquel de Rosario for 5 years, from 2006 to 2011. Beyond that, no. The AI summary seems to suggest that he maybe is or was dating Melissa Jimenez, who's a Spanish TV presenter for DAZN, but unconfirmed.
Okay,
but
cool.
He's not married with kids. To answer your original question, not married with kids. And I imagine it's maybe slightly different for Lewis as well, because obviously, like, his dad and brother are often traveling to these events with him, and they are very much in the motorsport world as well.
Yes.
So it's slightly different. It's still not quite the same as being settled down with family at home, but it's not as much time away. Obviously, they're in a fortunate position. But no, I think it is a valid point that, I mean, you've got to want to settle down at some point, right? Like, as much as you might love motor racing, you're 44 years old. Like, Fernando Alonso is only 1.71 meters tall. That is shorter than I would have expected. I don't know why. Just picture him as a short king.
I don't think tall kings don't fit particularly well in Formula One cars.
No. So, there's a disadvantage to it, for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
And the G-forces and stuff must squash you down.
I would have thought so over the years. And as you get older, you shrink, right? So he used to be 6'2", and obviously now that he's kind of getting towards his 80s, he's just shrunk down to about 5'8". So I
think that's definitely what it is. For
Short king.
Short king Fernando Alonso. Right, here we go. It's what you all came for. Let's talk about some papaya stuff. We shan't talk about the rules initially, although it is rules related, because I'm good at segues on this podcast. Let's talk lap 1, turn 1 of the Monza Grand Prix. Or the Italian Grand Prix, officially. So you posed a question. And I will let you ask the question of the people. But the basic summary is there was a little bit of argy-bargy into turn 1. Funnily enough, hairpins and chicanes into turn 1 quite often cause argy-bargy. There had been a little bit of argy-bargy before that, where he sort of did and didn't run him onto the grass, just where the track sort of tightens through there. Max didn't make the corner, took to the runoff area, stayed ahead. Team said give it back, and we all reset from there.
Yep.
How did you see it? And then what's the question that you posed to me before we started?
Yeah. How did I see it? It's a good question. We haven't had a lap 1, turn 1 for a while, so it's quite nice to have one of those back in the fray. Missed them, actually. Kind of, you feel like you're missing something, don't you? But the whole grass situation, my initial thought was, oh, come on, like, what are you playing at now?
Yeah.
And the other side of it, I kind of thought, well, actually, he's not moved in the slightest. He's just carried on in a straight line, and the tarmac's run out. Now, whose fault is that? I don't know. And I dare say, going into the second part of that chicane, part of the fact that Lando kind of went out towards that side of it and didn't really give Max much space was probably in retaliation to what had happened 150 yards back down the road, and then Max took to the thingy and whatever, and then they carried on down the road. Obviously, then it later came through the radio, Red Bull, Max, give the place back, which I thought the wording of it was strange because Lando never had the place in the first place, so I don't really understand the wording of it. But my question was, because obviously that happened, Max let Lando go past and Lando took the lead of the Grand Prix for a couple of minutes. But does self-policing, does it negate any punishment of a crime that has been committed? Now, if what Max and Lando had got up to during lap 1, turn 1 was worthy of a 10-second penalty, a stop-go penalty, a drive-through penalty, a 5-place grid drop, whatever that might be, whatever they view that as. And I'm not saying any of it was, because I think it was 6 or half a dozen of another, to be quite frank with you. But can you just get away with, go on, just let him past? Because we know we're fast as fuck anyway, so we'll get past him in a lap's time anyway. The best way I could describe it is like if you went into a shop, stole a TV because you wanted to watch the football match, but you didn't have a TV, and then bought it back 2 hours later because you'd watched the match and put it back in its box and put it back on the shelf. Is it kind of turning around saying, well, I've not actually kind of committed the crime and therefore I'm not taking the punishment? I don't know. Let's not talk about that bit specifically, but just generally speaking, what's your thoughts on that?
So I will flip the question round. Not to avoid the question as such, but I will sort of answer the question with a question. Does allowing... It usually happens with more ambitious moves, right? And an attempt at an overtake that sort of technically doesn't work because you ran out of track or whatever. Are we encouraging, therefore, better, harder racing by giving them the opportunity to take a 50-50 chance at an overtake that wasn't actually 50-50, it was 45-55, but it looked sort of 50-50 in that split second? Didn't work. Okay, let's revert back to how we were. Is that the read on it? Or actually, is it the opposite that, as you say, because they know that they can go and put the telly back on the shelf, are we getting more 45-55, 40-60 style moves attempted that could have an impact on other people? Like, should we be encouraging Max to have held that out for as long as he did, take to the runoff and whatever, and would not letting, as you say, you can just undo all of that now by giving it back, let that happen? It all kind of comes back for me to the same problem of how grey it all is, but also the fact that you can't make it any more black and white. Like it lives to be grey. And it's like what we saw, and I can't remember what Grand Prix it was, but there was the Grand Prix, wasn't there, where Red Bull made Max give it back, and then the stewards went, you didn't have to do that. Was that Barcelona? It might have been Barcelona. And Red Bull were like, give it back. And then the stewards were like, why is he giving that back? Like, we didn't have a problem with that. But it's just that thing again, isn't it? Of it's interpreting laws and whatnot.
Yeah.
So to give a definitive answer to your question,
yeah,
I think yes, it's good to give it. I think yes, we can revert to form by giving it back.
yeah.
But what I don't love is the gamesmanship that we see with giving it back in a fortuitous position.
Yes, okay.
And maybe do we need to be tighter on, sweet, you can give it back. You have a sector to do so. You can't go round 3/4 of a lap and do it down the straight into a really convenient position for you where you don't have to get your tyres dirty and whatever. No. You must give, like, by the time you get to the end of that sector, right?
Yeah.
Unless there's a mitigating circumstance that it happens in like the last 5% of the sector or whatever, there's always going to be stuff. But like that turn 1 incident, right? We are taking the positions at the end of that sector as to be what we're basing this on. If you give it back later in the lap, that's fine. That's your problem. But we look at incidents within sector. Then does that maybe give us a compromise between the two?
Yeah, potentially. I don't know. I mean, what I will say, and we don't do a lot of it on this podcast, but it was brilliant by Red Bull, I think, to be quite frank with you. They knew that they had an absolute rocket ship. I don't necessarily think they knew they were going to get a penalty from the stewards with regards to it. I know that it popped up on screen, didn't it? It was like turn 1, lap 1 had been noted by the stewards. So they were looking at it. They knew they had a rocket ship of a car. Like, Max had literally just set the fastest lap in Formula One history 24 hours beforehand. So they probably knew, well, actually, if we just give it back, and we'll go flying past him sooner or later anyway. And it was the safe, smart and sensible thing to do. So it was so safe, smart and sensible, the fact that Max didn't even moan about it over the radio. Yeah. He normally pops back and goes, oh, come on, mate, that's ridiculous. What is it? He's obviously heard it and just gone, yeah, all right, it's fine, because I'll go pissing past him like he's not moving in a couple of corners' time. So, yeah, it's fine. Look, self-policing, carry on with it if that's the way that you want to go. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know how I feel about it.
I guess it's the only thing that they do self-police on as well, isn't it? Like, there's no other real incidents that you can do anything else with apart from that one. So is it then slightly weird that we have some penalties that you can self-police on and some that you can't? And it's difficult, isn't it?
Say you sped into the pit lane, the team would have that information available, right?
Yeah.
Would they then turn around and say, right, no, just sit here for another 10 seconds on your pit stop because we're going to get a 10-second penalty anyway, so we'll leave it and we'll deal with it then? They don't do that. If you overshoot your grid box or full start, nobody turns around and pops on the radio and goes, come on, mate, you got to come do a drive-through now because you've done this. You wait for the stewards to make that information as almost a case of, well, we might get away with this one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. What I am sure about on lap 1, which is turn 3, maybe 4, maybe Lesmo 1,
Yeah.
Oscar Piastri, wow. I mean, if people want to talk about whether he has, world championship credentials, yes or no, or whatever, not too many drivers go round the outside of Lesmo 1 on the first lap on relatively chilly tyres by that point. Around the outside of a Ferrari, no less, in Italy. That's dangerous moves. That was serious big dick stuff, that was.
Hey, he's got credentials. And, yeah. But look, Oscar Piastri's fantastic. He is absolutely fantastic. There's no talk about that, and he should be further ahead in this World Drivers' Championship now, shouldn't he? And I think that probably segues from that nicely into the next thing. Yeah, I don't know how anybody could doubt his credentials in order to win a World Drivers' Championship because, I mean, so far on 2/3 of the season, he's absolutely pissed all over the bloke he's racing against.
Yes, and I think we've reached it. I would say let's discuss it. Guess what? Papaya Rules are back, team. Look, this one's
before you get into it.
Yeah,
it's a bit like Hungary.
It's a bit like Hungary. You're gonna need him. Cheesy peeps.
Hey, first question. How did it make you feel?
I think it was the best example we've had of how much McLaren are pissing this year. That they're just just doing whatever they fancy now. Like the sport is gone in for them because they are so far ahead. Admittedly, they weren't in this race, but they're not actually competing, so they're just doing what they want now. They're just deciding what the result is. It was. It's not great, is it? It's not great. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
Just say you didn't like it.
It's not. No, it doesn't make me feel great. It's not great.
No, I agree. It's
awkward.
It certainly added fuel to the fire of McLaren have a favourite child, right?
Yeah.
I think you can create an argument and say McLaren are doing their absolute utmost to keep things fair, and potentially that's how you can interpret it, and that's fine if that's how you want to do it. I want to live in a world where I think if that was the other way around, they'd have done the exact same thing. I think they would. I think they would, but I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. So the big question that I came away with, and I didn't know the answer to it, was obviously there are a lot of people involved in these Formula One teams, and yes, they are one team, but then they will have separate individuals that work for each individual car, right? So they'll have whoever the people are, mechanics, chief engineers, and all this other stuff, and they will be allocated specifically to one side or the other in the garage. And it made me wonder whether they actually have separate people that walk out there with their little kind of wheel gun things and do the pit stops, and then they'll go and sit back down again and we'll watch the blokes on the other side of the garage do the same job. And it turns out that isn't the case, because if that was the case, then I think you turn around and go, nah, fuck it, your team fucked up. Carry on, don't worry about it, you move. If they're the same employees doing both cars, I don't know. It just looked awful. It looked awful, and I don't like it. And what happens? What happens if you get through to like Abu Dhabi? Abu Dhabi, P1, P2, flying around. One of the two drivers, I'm not going to say which one, has a slow pit stop and ends up kind of losing the lead of the Grand Prix because of this slow pit stop. Does the other driver? Does the radio message come through? Did the other driver turn around and go, oh yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, no, that's fine, I'll get out of the way and I'll lose the world championship by 2 points?
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
No, I don't think there is a huge amount to get with it, to be honest. And it's, yeah, it's such an awkward one. We both just keep going, because I think it is uncomfortable, and it's awkward because you can, or I certainly can, attribute some merit to what they're trying to do and why it feels like a good idea. And okay, this was a very easy situation because Oscar wasn't threatening Lando. Let's be real. And this entire Grand Prix, at no point was Oscar pushing him. At no point really across the whole weekend did it look like Oscar was the sort of the lead McLaren, if you want to, say that. Bloody close to him, but not the actual lead on it. So you look at it and you think, it didn't have any consequence, right? They were not fighting with anyone for position. They were under no pressure from behind. They were not in any way pressuring out in front, right? This was a complete moot point. And I do wonder if that factored into it somewhat, in that this was completely moot. I still don't like it, because it's not... It's a team accident. These things happen. But then, and you jump to the next step of, right, well, if Oscar runs over some debris and gets a puncture or whatever, right, someone stab a screwdriver in Lando's tires, we've all got to be equal. It's like when parents have twins or two kids and they've got to dress them all exactly the same because they've all got to be exactly equal and all that. And it's just not going to work like that. But McLaren has set this stall out on equality and fairness that they just keep digging that hole deeper and deeper, don't they? Yeah.
But is it equality and fairness, or do they fare one driver more than the other?
Yeah. The other interesting thing that is not fully being lost, I've seen some people talking about it, but there is a small amount weird from Lando in the build-up, to be like, oh, no, let Oscar go first. Like, I didn't really understand. It's not a massive undercut track. There was
they wanted to box off Leclerc, didn't they? That was their reasoning.
Yeah, and it's just the whole exchange was strange. The whole process was bizarre. Oscar took it quite well. I think there was certainly an element of, okay, yeah, sure, Hungary in it, and I think it was probably a slight amount of self-assessment from Oscar that he didn't believe that he was actually fighting Lando. I think if he'd had more pace and there was more of a battle there, then perhaps he would have fought that call a little bit harder. But
yeah,
I don't want to see him keep doing it. Put it that way. Okay, it's 1-1 now. We've done it. Move on.
Yeah, this is the thing, and obviously we're kind of stretching this podcast out now because not much else happened at the Italian Grand Prix other than a few kind of clumsy drivers here and there, still with a bit of a hangover from Zandvoort. But I don't want to sit at the end or continue going through the season like we did last year with the Hungary thing of going, well, had Lando have stood up for himself and carried on, then actually we'd have had a world championship battle going all the way through to the end of the season.
Yeah.
Look, if Lando won the world championship by a couple of points at the end of this season, you're going to end up with conversations, and we're going to have that conversation of, well, if Oscar had grown a pair of bollocks at Monza, then he'd have won that championship by a point or 6 points or whatever the difference might be. And I don't necessarily know if I want that as a reason as to why one driver does or doesn't win the world championship.
Yeah. No,
that would be my thoughts on it.
Yeah, you kind of hope in a way that Oscar just completely runs away with it. Like we could just do with, and I like Lando a lot, and I'm a McLaren fan, and I don't want this to happen, but you could almost just do with Lando making his own mistake and putting it in the wall at a Grand Prix soon and kind of putting the title race to bed by a Grand Prix or something. And I will make it abundantly clear. I'm not saying I actually want that to happen, but I'm just saying it makes life easier, I think, when we look back on the history books, if it doesn't end up being a 5-point championship and we can talk about tiny swing moments. And I don't want it to be a mechanical failure, and I don't want it to be someone else taking Lando out, because then it's more asterisks. But I will say as well, we need to stop, and it's not going to stop, and it's almost not worth investing effort into it. But enough with the fangirl, fanboy, Lando Norris fandom thing of it's all deliberate, and why was it his mechanical breakdown? It's always Lando that gets the slow stops, and the front left guy, we need to find him and get him fired and all the rest of it. It's like, shut up. I think people forget we've had it too good, I think, with pit stops, that we are so acclimatized to these flawless, a bad pit stop being a 2.5 instead of a 2.1. We're so accustomed to that a 5-second pit stop, people are suddenly calling for someone to be fired and trying to hunt him down and all this, that, and the other. It's like, just have a day off.
I think McLaren have created those people, though.
Interesting.
Because of this kind of lovey-dovey, equality, friendship, cuddly nature of their team, they've created that environment, and then people are going to look for those reasons as to why it's not fair and what's gone wrong and this, that, and the other, because we've been told it's fair the whole way through. And obviously the second that it looks like it isn't slightly fair on both sides of the fence, you've got people that are going to weigh in on this. Really and truly, team orders are fucking shit. Gloves off, just get out there, slug it out, two blokes getting just hitting each other for 24 races of the season, and whoever's the best will come out on top, right, over the course of 24 races, without kind of going, oh yeah, but he's hit you once, so you then are allowed to hit him back, and yeah, but he hit me here, so I can't hit him here, and then just get on with it. Just let them get out there, get rid of these namby-pamby kind of lovey-dovey team orders, and get out there and bloody race and just show us which is the best of you. And if one of you gets a bit unlucky here and there, tough shit. over 24 races, that stuff will even itself out. That's the way that the world and the way that life works. It's not a case of a one-off Grand Prix over the space of a lap, which actually that's another little thing to chuck on the end of the podcast to talk about. But just get out there, gloves off, slug it out, and whoever's the best will come out on top. And I think the reality of the situation is the best of what we've seen so far from 16 Grand Prix or whatever we've had has been Oscar.
Yeah, I agree with all of it. Agree with all of it, and it's sort of unique in a way to Formula One, isn't it? The whole team orders thing and this weird thing of you have a team that has two individuals competing separately in it. There's never really going to be a solution to it, because even if there's not overt team orders, some team will come up with a way to do it with a light on the dashboard, or they'll have code words for this or that, or there's always going to be a way. So we might as well have at least the team orders are like out there in the open, I guess. And I think I'd be happier with that rather than it being secret and we're questioning if it is team orders or not. Like, at least they're just going swap them around. Like, but no, I agree. It is shit. What's your other point to finish off? Your other pondering?
Yeah, finally, did you see that stuff about Stefano Domenicali saying that the Formula One Grand Prix might be too long for young people?
Yeah, shut up, Stefano. Get in the fucking bin.
What are we going to do? Have a TikTok Grand Prix, which is going to last about 3 corners, because just in case some 7-year-old goes, nah, I'm bored now.
Yeah, Subway Surfers on the side of the screen. It's fine. We'll just split screen it on F1 TV. You just have Subway Surfers or like slime videos or something. It's just shut up, man. Even if that's, I will concede again, as someone that's worked on the back end of sport, right? And I know the conversations that always go on in boardrooms and offices and the admin buildings of sport, right? I don't have an issue necessarily with that being an agenda item for the FIA and FOM to have at their next board meeting, right?
Yeah.
Number 7, before AOB, are the races too long? Should they be shorter for the younger generation? I don't mind discussing it. That's fine. The answer's no. They're not that long. Compared to other sports, they're all very similar length. Sport tends to run 60 to 90 minutes. And the great thing about Formula One is you can wander away for a couple of laps. You can go have a piss. You can go get a, couple of crisps and whatever. Like, it doesn't really matter, because you'll hear Crofty yelling in the other room. If you need to come running back in, you'll see 50 replays of what it was. So, no, Stefano, shut up. Move on. I don't dislike you generally, Stefano. I think you do an okay job. Shut your mouth. That's yeah.
No, that's one of the more mild takes that I've heard over the course of a Formula One season. But I thought I'd throw it out there because that was something that I just saw pop up on some socials the other day. But yeah, I think that's it. Are we Grand Prixing again this weekend? Are we triple headering, or have we got a break?
No, I don't think we triple. We go to Baku next. That's on the 21st.
Okay, so we've got a weekend off, and then we go to Azerbaijan.
Yes, we've got a weekend off. We do have, we won't talk about this this week, but Ryan and Jamie from Canada, our 2 favourite Canadians ahead of Lance Stroll,
brilliant,
have an email for us to. We will ponder that in the build-up to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It's just a question about RB and Red Bull and how those operate. It's actually something that we would have discussed on the build-up podcast.
RB and Red Bull the same thing anyway?
Would the see, here's now, you're getting ahead of yourself. It's not the build-up to Baku yet, my son. But once again, apologies, team, for us not being able to make the logistics work last week. I'm sure you missed us, and I'm sure your Grand Prix weekend was not as good not knowing which 4 drivers you needed to be looking at. Dan, in the meantime, if they want to see what you've been so busy doing, where should they go?
Yeah, you can find me on the internet at danjads_. You can see a lot of cricket stuff. If you like cricket stuff, it's certainly the place to go. I'm in Guyana at the moment. It's an interesting spot. First time on South American soil, so that's a new little kind of tick in the box for me. I think of the 3 places I've been, I'd say it's probably best suited for a Formula One Grand Prix. They've discovered oil, and I think therefore that probably links up quite nicely with a few Formula One Grand Prix. So you never know.
Perfect.
You never know. The Georgetown Grand Prix, and funnily enough, it could be, I think probably would be the only Grand Prix circuit that would actually be built below sea level.
Stefano.
Yeah.
Stefano.
Get that item 8 on the agenda. Anyway, what about you? What are you streaming at the moment? Are you still building roads, or have you moved on to something else?
No, I just opened a local pool and water park. And part of that game is that you have a sledgehammer and you are encouraged to hit people that sneak in without a ticket with said sledgehammer to get them to leave. Water Park Simulator, incredible times. Twitch.tv/HeyLookAtAlex. So you can watch that.
Do they leave, or do you just kill them?
They get up again. And then they
Do
run
they?
away because I'm now chasing them with a sledgehammer. So you can also use a mop or a hammer, but I find the sledgy is most effective.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, well, there
Lapdown
you go.
Pod on your various pipes. Pick a pipe. Go and follow us on there. Lapdownpod@gmail.com if you want to send us a question like Ryan and Jamie from Canada have done, and we will get to that on next week's episode. Share this with someone. Like and subscribe and do all those things. Leave us a review as well. They really help on the various platforms. And we will see you all in the build-up to Baku.